Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to be explaining how we managed to catch this 1 to 3 hour trade on trading Nasdaq, and I'm going to be explaining sort of how the setup formed, how I sort of guided the people on Telegram. I also share this on the free channel, so if you guys want to be involved in the free channel, the link is in the description. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the sort of price action and what happened and how we sort of caught this move. So to start off, we normally start off on the high time frame. So I'm going to start off on the 1 hour time frame here. And yes, we can see that there's a sort of price action to the right over here, but we're going to ignore all of this price action. I do not have the replay mode available as of now. But to begin, we can see that what happened from Asia session is that price opened here and aggressively ran above the prior daily high. So I'll give you guys context on what happened. Is that when the market opened, price aggressively ran above the prior daily high. At this point in time, around about 6-7 o'clock, if we go to ES, what we'd identify is at this point in time, price has already taken Monday's high on ES, right? So from this high to there, the high that took that high, actually we can even say that this high took it as well. There is a daily SMT, as you can see from Monday's high here, right? So we had daily SMT at this high to, I believe it was like one of the, you can even say this low, or you can even say this low here, this high, sorry. So at this point in time, there was SMT against Nasdaq and ES. Now the SMT is only valid if there is a change in the state, right? Change in the state of delivery, i.e. when price has now flipped from a buy program to a sell program, right? At this point in time when we flip it, that is when the SMT is valid, and then that is when that SMT will hold. But as of now, that SMT is just there to induce more sellers into the market, right? What happened at this time is, you can see obviously inevitably the market ended up taking Monday's high, right? Now, what that would have done is that would have invalidated that SMT, and the people who were selling based off that SMT would have absolutely got wrecked. But in our case, we didn't do that. Why? The reason we didn't look to sell is because I was waiting for this time-based liquidity level to be closed below on the 1 hour time frame. And all you can see is just wicks in this level, right? This is just telling us that the price has sort of spiked down, and then when we got that reversal, we were involved on that reversal higher to clear out the Monday's high. The reason why this was my turning point, because this imbalance was the imbalance that was created when the prior daily high was breached. So price should use this as support if order flow is still bullish. Now you can see, hint to the right here, that once price closed back below it, as you can see there, what happened? The whole market just collapsed right there and went down to this drawn liquidity, which means that all of this trendline liquidity that we were creating overnight was just taken out in one big sweep. And I didn't trade the PM session, but I came back and saw that, and I was like, yep, that's what happens as soon as that time-based liquidity was closed below. So the market never gave us a sign to go short. So now we're going to sort of drop down to the 1 minute time frame, and I'm going to guide you on what happened from, let's just say, from 8:30. So you can see that we had this sort of accumulation, right, from London session, and then we had a little pump up here, and then we had more accumulation prior 9:30 opening. So you can see that price accumulated here. At this point in time, what was price doing? It was accumulating orders, and you can see we left relatively equal highs at the highs here. On ES, this was SMT. However, remember, SMT is only confirmed when we get a change in the state. Now, I did see a few people did end up going short here due to that SMT, and then they did sort of catch this move down. However, I was only focusing on the bullish move because this time-based liquidity level, you know, the price has not closed below it, so it's still a bullish point of interest. So as price fell over here, this here is a market maker buy model, right? So you can see we have the original consolidation here. This is the sell side of the curve, and then this here is the buy side of the curve, where price immediately goes back to attack the original consolidation. So price manipulates to the downside, and then price immediately reverses back towards the upside. Now we're going to get into how we knew that price was about to reverse here, and then why I ended up sort of entering quite late in this range, but I still thought it was a valid sort of setup. So if we sort of have a look at what price was doing then as price was dropping. So when 930 opened, which was this candle here, what we can see, it's a 930 open bearish, immediately create a fair value gap here. And then you can sort of mark this to see exactly how price is reacting off it. You can see that price was using it as support. There's IFed right here. You can see that the wicks are tapping in and then price is immediately pushing down, right? Which is showing that price is still very bearish and that we're not sort of turning around to attack these highs yet. We're still in a sell program. So what we need to do is wait for SMT and then price to change direction. Now, one thing I would like to show you is at this low here. This is the, what is it, 530 low. If you mark that, you can see that Nasdaq took out that 530 low, right? And then I'm just going to put that there for those who actually know what I'm about to explain now. If I go to ES and I show you what occurred at that same 530 low, you can see that that 530 low, which was right there, where was the lowest price at that point? Right there. Can you see that ES failed to take out that 530 low, whereas on NQ we did take out that 530 low. It was at this point all we had to wait for was the change in the state of delivery before we can identify that this is the smart money reversal at 949. So let's just say, obviously, yes, we can see that this was the reversal, and you know, at this point in time, there's a few people that did standard deviations here and there. You won't know that the low is in until we get a reversal, right? So once price gave us this sort of price action move and price pushed back above these candles here, this then became your breaker. Why? Because you have a high, a low, a high, high, sorry, high, low, high, high, and then lower, low, and then a high, high right there. Sorry, I didn't explain that the best. This candle here now becomes your breaker. So as soon as price pushes above that candle here, price should not go back below this candle there. So this now then becomes your breaker. So that is one way of seeing that the price has changed in the state. Also, you can see that the bodies are now closing above this, which is also a valid CSD. And you can see as price sort of traded back into that price, that closing price there, we held as support. So again, stop losses could have been back below there. However, I waited. I was a bit late to the party, but I waited because we saw that this fair value gap was inverted with this displacement candle. Now, when we displaced above this, this is my highest probability setup when it comes to my entries. This is my market structure shift pattern. You can see that we had sell side delivery here, then we had buy side, and then sell side again. And then when we had that buy side again, this then became a balanced price range. So when price ranges are balanced, then we do not expect IPTA to price in back into this range again. You can see we had one sell side again, and then we had a buy side push back up. So it was still a balanced price range at this point. So you can see I was not expecting for price to push back into this area or actually back below it again. So my stop loss was below that low. And then where was I anticipating? I got in a bit aggressive here because I wasn't expecting for price to give us a pullback or anything. I expected for price to just keep expanding. So when we got this push here, yes, one entry could have been at this point. As soon as price closed above there, when you got that pullback, your SL would have been back below the time-based liquidity level because we're not expecting price to go back down it. And then you can still target the buy side and Monday's high. However, I got in here, targeting the buy side, and then the Monday's high right here. And then this was a, I think I tightened up my stop loss just to get that better risk reward. So you got 1.7 R trade right there. However, I extended price action as the price as price continued its push. I had fair value gaps here that I marked up, and I trailed my stop loss aggressively at these levels. So as soon as price pushed up with that fair value gap, trailed my stop right there. and then we ended up getting a 2-3 candle push, and it was at this point I decided to take it, which is a 1.1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. With that, I think it was a little bit bigger, which is right there. So that was the trade right there. So the question is, like, how did you know, how did I know that price was going to attack these highs and continue? The reason why I knew that is because price actually failed to close and stay back below this time-based liquidity level. So I was still bullish at this point. So my narrative, if it's bullish, where is price likely to go? Well, we've left these relatively equal highs, and ES and YM, which is US 500 and US 30, both have taken out the Monday's highs, whereas US 100 has not, whereas NQ did not. So because we're still bullish, I anticipate price to attack Monday's high, just because everything is now in correlation. If price was sort of pointing bearish here, then I anticipated, you know, Monday's high to be left and for price to just roll over. But what ended up happening is that price ended up pushing higher, consolidated a little, pushed back below here, closed below this level, and then you can see danced around it and then continued its push all the way back down below midnight opening price and below the PM session lows that we have right here from the day prior. You can see once the PM session lows were breached, I'm guessing that there was some form of SMT before we got this big pump back up. So we're going to have a look at ES. I haven't checked the charts here. So you can see that this low right here was taken out. Let's have a look. Let's see what happened here. So price absolutely crumbled. Check out these lows, tapped into this fair value gap. 1030 low was breached. Let's see what YM did. YM failed to breach the 1130 low. As you can see, failed to go below there. Whereas NQ breached 1130 at 1045, 1030. Yes, it was the YM SMT right there, where we had this low was breached by NQ and YM. Sorry, NQ and ES. However, on YM, that low was not breached. So that's where you get the SMT. And then you would have been able to trade that back up if there was a reversal set of there. However, was not trading that. I just wanted to focus on the move that we did take, which was this move there. So we managed to get a nice move. But this just goes to show that price action will give you, you know, and show you whether it's ready to turn around or whether it's just pulling back to continue higher. Whether this was just manipulation or whether it was just, you know, sort of a distribution move to fall down. But the fact that we got this clean setup right here, I'm going to remove the time boxes from the chart just to show you what we got before 9:30. And again, this is where time comes in very heavy here. Before 9:30, we got accumulation. With 9:30, as soon as 9:30 opened, we got manipulation to the downside here. Let's change that to red. And then after 9:49, which is 9:50, sorry, we got distribution. Let's change that right there. So you can see how this played in 3 steps. And this is what I want you guys to notice and want you guys to see. So that's pretty much it from this video. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and check the links in the description. It's been Oasis FX. Peace out.